Hey everybody, TJ here from Kanani Studios. We'd like to just take the time here to show you guys how to properly cape out your whitetail for the mounting process. Now that some regulations have been changed in PA with bringing your deer in from out of state, we just want to make sure that you guys know exactly how to cape out a whitetail. So we're starting with a life-size skin. Show you guys from this step on how to take care of your deer properly. So as far as tools for this, for what you need, all we're using is a number 70 scalpel blade and a screwdriver. It has a rounded tip on it, and all we're using that for is for around the antler burrs. Okay, so when it comes for making the cut for the cape, separating the cape from your back hide here, you can see this is already skinned out, and this down the front legs here was skinned right where that transitional hair pattern is, right down the leg. And then just one key note here is that as far as your armpit, you want that attached to your brisket on the front side. If the armpit is cut through and on the outside here, that's just not where we want it for mounting process. And then as far as making the straight cut, separating the cape from the back hide here, right where the front shoulder is, we're gonna go like 8 inches straight back from that. Straight across is all we're going for. And there we go. We have our cape cut, and then we'll go to the next step here. The first cut we're going to make is along the lip line, separating both lips. So on the bottom lip here, I'm just going right up against the bone there. And just pulling it out as I do it. Now for the top lip, just lean that back, just pulling it back with my thumb. Same thing, right along the lip line. Then you're actually going to cut through the cartilage. Lip line there, and then I'm going to finish it right through the cartilage. Basically cutting through the cartilage, cutting right up against the bone. And then just keep going up the nose bone there. Okay, and then we're going to stop just shy of the tear ducts in the eyes, and we'll get the rest of that from the back side coming in once we get our incision on the back of the head here. So that's the front, got the lips opened up there. Just cut right along the lip line and just peeled that back. And same thing with the cartilage, cut straight through for the nose, and then just peel that back, and that's for your lip line there. All right, for the next step here, we're going to make our Y incision across the back of the head, and then straight down the back here, and open the cape all the way up. And this is the only spot where I'll actually cut straight down into the hair, and then once I get it open, then I'll turn my blade over and cut from the skin side. Okay, so start right up against the antler burr. So we're just doing just a slight Y incision here, just so for seaming purposes, for sewing it back together, we know exactly how that comes right to the middle of the head here, instead of doing a straight line across. Just at a slight angle, 1.5 inches or so, 2 inches from each side, depending on the animal you're cutting. So there's our first cut. Then we're going to turn the knife blade over, and then just cut straight down. Especially on this deer here, it's nice, got a nice dark line down the middle of the back, and just follow that all the way through on the cape. Take my knife blade from the skin side and just follow on that black line right down the middle of the deer's back. All right, so then the next step, we're gonna start between working around the antler burr and going up against the ear butt here and cutting that off. So I'm just rolling that back right up against the head here, right through the ear butt. I'm just following right along just pulling the skin and cutting right in between the skin and the head. It just do the same thing to this side. Just roll that back. Right there, cut through the... And now we'll go to our, to doing the antler burrs here. And work that skin under. And just start it with a knife. So the biggest thing with the antler burr is just it's can be difficult to remove it from the antler burr sometimes. So just starting that with a knife. You can work it with a knife if you come from underneath and work it all the way around, and sometimes you can pull it as well. Like that one there actually decided that one was pretty loose and wanted to pull it. So I will actually just work that with a knife, not to have to use a screwdriver. Right up against the bone there, following that angle. Just so I'm not cutting any hair and leaving any hair up against the antler at all. So yeah, I'm constantly just pulling on the skin, having a nice firm grasp on it. And there we go. Got that antler burr. That skin off that antler burr there with no hair left up against the antler. We'll do the same thing for this side. So this one seems to be peeling pretty easy, but sometimes they can be fairly difficult. So I will use a screwdriver with just a slightly rounded tip on it, and all I'm doing there is working that, putting that right up against there, and just ever so slightly, turning the screwdriver and working that screwdriver around. I'll just finish it with a knife here. Then actually here on the cheek meat, where we loosened it from doing it from the front, I'm actually just cut right up against the bone there and open that up. Finishing off around here. Same with this side. Now we're getting right up to the back of the eye sockets here, and this is where people typically kind of get a little concerned about making any cuts with the eyes. The biggest thing you want to do with that, take your finger and put it in the eye socket and just roll that over on it there, so you know your finger has that back corner, of the skin on the back corner of the eye there is in front of your finger, and you're just pulling it away because you're not going to cut your fingertip, keeping that away, and you know you're not going to cut that skin out of the back corner of the eye. So as far as cutting out the back corner of that eye there, it's just, you know, keeping that intact, it just helps overall with the quality of your mount. And there you go. Now when it comes to the tear duct, the angle of that tear duct there, you can see how that kind of open that tear duct there, how tight that is from the inside. I'm going to take my knife here and I'm going to lay it right up against the bone and cut that out. Because if you come straight through, you just cut a hole, cut your tear duct right off. So I'm just going to take it and I'm just going to work my knife right into the tear duct there and work that right out. So I'm just going right up against the bone, just following that angle right when the bone changes the angle there, just working that right up against the bone. This is the only time I'm really cutting right tight to the bone. One side sometimes can be easier than the other, depending on if you're left or right-handed, but just try to catch that angle. And then just pushing that out. There we go. There we go. So now that we have our cape removed from the head, the best thing with freezing a cape, just for folding it, skin to skin and hair to hair. So just take it, stick our skin there like that, fold our ears in, take our face, roll our face in, and then just roll that cape up, tuck the sides in, and just wrap it in a bag and you're good to go. Yeah, the next step here, I'm going to show you the 2 cuts you need to make with the bone saw for taking your antlers off, taking the skull cap off of the skull. So the first step here, set the head up like this, and I'm going to just cut this meat away, back of the head here, just so I can clearly see get to the skull. So as far as this first cut, all I'm doing is straight across the head here, and I'm cutting directly towards the eyeballs. Okay, that's the first cut. And then all I'm gonna do here is cut straight down right behind the eye sockets. So there we go. You can see that cut straight through from the back of the head towards the eyes, and then straight down right behind the eye sockets. So now that we had our cuts made, as far as just getting your skull cap cleaned up here, I mean, the simplest thing, take a finger, pop in, knock the brain out there, and then getting the liner out. This one, the screwdriver actually comes back into play here. If you do this when it's fresh, it pops out pretty easy. Just scraping along there. And just clean that out from the inside. And then all we're going to do is then just take off the little bit of meat that's on either side of it here. I'm actually going to take the knife and scrape the bone here. Just get all that meat off. So as you can see, it's a pretty easy process, keeping out your deer. And yeah, with all the change and regulation, it's just a good skill set to have, be able to keep your deer out yourself or bringing it back across state lines. So yeah, just be sure to check in with the state you're hunting in for the regulations with that state as far as transporting your deer. And we look forward to you bringing your caped out deer back to us here at Canati. Thanks again.